looking for something exciting to read while you enjoy some sugary cereal?
Yeah!
Then grab a copy of Mighty Mascots from Alterna Comics! Born from the ashes of a disastrous 3D printing accident, 8 living advertisements have banded together to right the wrongs of this world, led by a former child star. These unlikely heroes are freaks to some, but you will know them as the Mighty Mascots. The miniseries is 3 issues full color and printed on glorious newsprint. This is the fun superhero series that you didn't know you needed. Created and written by Keith Gleason, featuring artwork by Ian Morianto and colors by Anton Bondi.
Ahoy, I can't wait for more!
Mighty Mascots is part of your complete breakfast and comic book reading experience. Only from Alterna Comics.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Indie Comics Relay. I'm your host, Keith Gleason, creator of the Mighty Mascots. And I was about to say with me, as always, is Johnny C., creator of Sartana and Surrounded by Death. But no Johnny C. tonight. What happened?
No, but I'm flattered. I'm flattered that I can fill in for Johnny C. I wish that I was the creator of Sartana and Surrounded by Death. But our best bro, where is he, Keith?
He's at a wrestling match. Or
yes.
He got tickets to, what was it, AEW?
AEW, I believe, yeah.
Now, for you guys that might not know, Johnny is a huge wrestling fan, so he was sad that he couldn't be here this week, but subbing in is someone just as great, my beautifully talented wife, Amy Cook de Gleason. Hi, Amy.
Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. The creator of many sketch covers, sketch cards, posters, cover art, and custom My Little Ponies.
Right, and we are often together at Comic-Cons.
Yes.
And that's one thing I was going to talk to Johnny about right at the beginning of the show tonight, about our last show, which was this past weekend, which was the first ever Retro Expo show.
Yes, that was so fun.
So fun, but such a weird venue in a lot of ways.
Yes. It was so weird.
Okay, so we do our show, Plastic City Comic-Con, at a hockey rink in Fitchburg, Mass. Which, if you guys didn't know, it's this year, July 16th, Saturday, July 16th, $10 admission. So if you're in Massachusetts, take the trip up to our show. It's a pure comic show like the 90s, 150 vendors, free parking, $10 admission. You will not find a cheaper Comic-Con anywhere in New England or probably in the United States.
And kids 12 and under are free. So
yes.
If you've got those little ones and you want to bring them to their first ever con, this is the one to bring them to because you can get them in for free.
Exactly.
You can't beat free.
So that besides plugging that, which I wanted to do, but I wanted to mention that the Retro Expo, which in a lot of ways was like Plastic City Comic-Con,
yes.
It was in it was called like a sports center, like it was called, but it was the
Longplex indoor sporting arena. So they had indoor roller hockey, they had indoor soccer, they had an indoor like basketball court, and like a running track around the perimeter of the place.
Yeah, it was interesting, and so he had probably about 100 vendors, which it was a great show. The aisle they put us in, though, we were a little worried when we got there because there was really nothing around us, and and there was, I guess they couldn't cancel it, but they had like a kids basketball game going on, like literally right across from our booth. It was, and
it was like a quarter court game for like the little peewees. It was really kind of
we had
cute.
one basketball come and hit our print wall, which I wasn't too happy about, but it didn't really do any damage, and one of the prints fell. But I was like, that's a first for me, like having to dodge
like
basketballs at a convention. I know the guy that was selling hot sauce next to us was a little worried because all his stuff was in bottles,
he did okay though. He didn't get hit. It was just us, I think.
Yeah, no, and also it was a great show. I mean, we had a corner booth, and I think we were worried about the space. We thought we were going to lose money, but we actually ended up doing really well in that spot because a lot of people who would come around the corner would just look at our stuff and not really look at anything else. So we ended up getting a little bit of traffic that way. So that was nice.
Yeah.
And this
nice.
weekend, we'll see Johnny on Saturday because we'll be at Wicked Comic-Con in Boston. So if you guys are in Boston, come check us out. We'll be in the Artist Alley area at the Wicked Comic-Con.
And that's another one-day show. That's just Saturday.
That is another
only.
one-day show. I love one-day shows.
Yeah.
They're the best, you
Me
know.
too. I know, because we can go in, have all of our fun, and then relax on Sunday and get ready for the week. It's nice.
Yeah, definitely. And then we you know, got to also share the Alterna campaign that's still live. I just saw on Twitter that Pete is getting the books in probably in the next week or two. He said they're shipping out tomorrow, and it probably takes about 10 days to get to him. So this campaign is going to be fulfilling really shortly. So it's going to be closing soon. You can still get Mighty Mascots 5 and 6, which are part of this campaign. You can also get the rest of the series if you're new to Mighty Mascots. You can get 1 through 4. And also, it's the only place you can collect your Alterna trading cards. They're only available through these campaigns. So definitely check that out. So we got probably about another month, I think, on this campaign before Pete closes it, and then it's over. So check it out here, you know, and like I said, check out my book, Mighty Mascots. I think you'll like it. If you like all ages superhero comics, very reminiscent of like the 80s and then Saturday morning cartoons if they're mashed together. So check that out. And also, let's go see who we have in the chat tonight before we bring in our guests. We have a great show tonight with people that I'm very looking forward to chatting with. So we got Lorenzo Sleestack joining us from over on the Heroshack side of things. Hey, Lorenzo, thanks for joining us. What did he say? I'm visiting from Chris and Diana's channel. I just subscribed. Thank you, man. We need those subscriptions. We're trying to build up, you know, I think we just hit 630 subs, which is awesome, you know, but we're streaming all over the place. So I'm always telling people, if you're out there watching, the place that really helps us is if you go to YouTube and subscribe, because once we get up to 1,000 subs, and I forget how many watch hours we need, but we can also monetize the channel and start making a little bit of money to put back into the channel and other things, which would be great.
They'll just help us grow.
Yeah, definitely. Once you hit 1,000, I think the algorithm starts to help you more, you know? Mm-hmm. We got Cross Comics with us tonight. Same as well. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Appreciate the subs. We love that.
I need a little like party thing to wave around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got another sub. Lorenzo said, my pleasure. Thank you. We lost Chris on Heroshack. Yeah, hopefully he'll be back. He's back. Oh, he said he's back. Okay, great. The tech corner. I don't know who that. Too many. What do you say? Too many shows to follow. I know that's the problem out there. You know, the good thing about us is we only do a show every other week. Sometimes we'll do, like next week, we're going to be doing a special episode just to help out our buddy Joe St. Pierre. But normally it's every other Wednesday, and then we have a couple guests on. Of course, we got Ara in the house as always. Ara, thanks for joining us. Sorry I'm late. No, man. Anytime you watch some of this, we're appreciative, you know. Let's see what else we got here. It's all waiting through my comics. Harry with us as always. He knows it's fake, right? I think he's talking about the wrestling, right? I think he's talking about the wrestling.
Must be, yeah.
What did Harry say? I stopped watching when I realized I was just watching dudes in their underwear rolling around. Right? I gotta admit though, 80s wrestling was the best. You know, that was my favorite. Let's see. We got more. Heroshack is with us as always, and the guest tonight. I think that is it for our viewers that are. If you're in the audience, definitely log in to YouTube and join us for comments and questions to our audience. So. All right. I think it might be time to bring in our guests. Amy, you have anything to say before we start bringing in our guests one by one?
No, I don't think so. I'm looking forward very much to learning more about these folks.
Definitely. And if you have any questions, just jump right in like
Okay.
Johnny does.
Right. I'll just jump in.
And hello, Tate. Thanks for joining us. All right. So first guest tonight, new person. I've never I've met him before. Seems like you've got a great comic though. Morgan Quaid. Thank you for joining us, Morgan. Thanks.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. And then next we got Chris from Heroshack. Chris, you there?
Hello.
Oh, there he
yes.
is. What's up?
Hi, Chris.
I'm sorry.
Hey.
I was in the other stream telling them what was kind of going on with your show, and now.
Oh, gotcha. No, so are you still in the simulcast? Or are you
Yeah,
still
I'm
going?
watching your show in my StreamYard.
Okay.
Conversing with the few people that are still there.
Okay.
And then I'm on your StreamYard on my iPad, so it's confusing.
So can they see us now? Can they see us?
No, because on your show it's weird. I don't know what's going on there yet. Oh, maybe I don't have the. I think I screwed up the whole stream. All right, now they should.
Let me also bring in your better half here.
Yes,
Diana. Diana, thanks for joining us.
Hi.
Have you figured it out, Chris? Like Chris is also.
I gotta try it again. I think I messed up, but I'm gonna bring it
He's
back.
so funny.
Going, so which is kind of wild,
He didn't want to cancel our stream because we are in, we're in our process of getting our book out there, and he's like, I can do whatever he calls it. What did you call it again?
Well, I call it
Podcasting,
e-fapping,
right?
but it's not really e-fapping. We're just running your live stream on our stream, and it's
it's kind of fun to do that because I did a crossover episode with a couple of guys that do Catch the Craze a couple weeks ago. So what we ended up doing was me and Johnny went on their show for an hour, and then we jumped, and then they all came over to here, and we finished the next hour with them. So it was like a crossover, for the good old days.
Awesome.
So thanks for joining us, all three of you guys. So one thing I love to ask our guests, like right off the top of the show, is I love to find out the origins of people, like how, I want to know like what comic, movie, or TV show that you saw when you were younger that kind of put you on the path to wanting to become a creator and make comics. Like, was there a comic or a TV show, a cartoon, something like that? So I'd love to hear from all three of you guys. So let's start with Morgan. Morgan, is there something that you can point to in your past that kind of put you on this path as a creator?
I definitely can, but it's not the normal story. So when I was younger,
like to hear that.
We like that
I wasn't.
Stories.
there's not many normal stories about my childhood. Anyway, I was not really into comics when I was a kid. It kind of confused me a bit because you have the artwork but you have to read, and then so I was kind of torn. I just never really got into it. I mean, except for comic strips like Garfield and those sorts of things. I was a bit obsessed by that. It wasn't until later. It wasn't until I'd already had a failed career as a novelist and writer that didn't really go anywhere. And I was sort of mulling on my depressing relationship with literary agents and all of that sort of stuff. And then I walked into, in Brisbane City, where I am now, walked into a comic shop called Comics, Etc. I had an hour off work, walked in, looked in, and the first thing I saw was a line of Image Comics and the Chew series was the first one that I saw.
Yeah,
I had no idea. So I picked this thing up and just started reading and thought, my God, what have I been doing for the past 10 years? I should have been comics. What I had no. So I walked out with a massive, bag full of comics and lost all my money, all that sort of stuff. Started reading and then immediately thought, I have, 6 or 7 novels ready to go. I need to turn these into comic scripts and I need to talk to artists. And that's where my journey began. Yeah.
Oh, no kidding. So you're kind of so how long ago was that?
That was about 7 years ago now, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, about 7 years.
That's cool, though, like that you're kind of a newer fan, because most of the people we talk to it was, something they saw when they were a kid or they got into when they were a kid that kind of, wanted them, and then as they grew up, they found comics to be like sort of a thing that grew from their childhood. So that's interesting that you found it after the fact. I got to say, I've read Chew and it's a great book. And I love the concept on that. It's very, very interesting.
Very cool.
Yeah, kind of modeled after. You've ever seen a show called Pushing Daisies? It was on for like a season and a half. Very much reminded me of that show. Like, it was really cool, So that's awesome. Now, Diana, are you? I know you're more on the marketing side of Heroshack, right?
Yeah, yes, I'm more of the business end of Heroshack Press.
Were you a fan of comics growing up, or
not at all?
Not at all.
Never, listen, this is the funniest thing is like I've never read comics. It was never my thing. I was never drawn to it. I didn't even watch cartoons as a kid.
Really?
Like, that's how removed I was. So I married my husband. He's an artist. One of the things that I loved about him was to watch him draw. I thought that was so cool.
Okay.
We raised up our kids, and he decided that he wanted to get back into comics, which he'll tell his side of it. So I have had to learn. He comes to me because I want to make a comic book. I'm like, great. I support you 100%. Knowing nothing about comics, nothing. I didn't even know how to read them, for God's sakes.
Okay.
So that was a learning process. So as his editor, as the person that reads all of his work and edits it, I had to learn how to read a comic. And I think Crystal will speak to this, that it's helped him as a creator to reach out to people that don't know how to read comics. Because I'm reading like I'm reading,
Wow.
But I have always loved, you can talk in a minute, I've always loved writing poetry. And so that's been my thing. I'm more of the writer.
Gotcha. So you like novels and things like that.
Poetry is my thing. I love to write poetry. But this book that's coming out, I have my very first comic. It came from a short story that I wrote, but I have learned how to take the short story format and put it into a comic book. And our daughter, my daughter is
kind of like what Morgan's doing there, which is cool. Like taking
exactly Morgan. Right? But I've never had I never went where you went. Like I never went to a publisher. I raised my kids, put them through college. Here I am at the ripe old age of old age, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back to school. Like my career is in occupational therapy, behavior analysis, like it's all clinical stuff. That's what I do. I work with kids with autism. So we're talking about like a 180. So now I'm back in school to get my degree in English and creative writing, which I'm loving it. I've got one more year to go, but it has helped me so much for Chris and just learning about the comic book industry, learning about the marketing, learning about all of that stuff. And I'm still learning. So that's where I come into play in this.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
It's so great that you're going back and learning about those things and the marketing and stuff, because I think where a lot of comic creators fall short is that end of it, is the marketing end.
Yeah, it's hard.
It is. And it possibly even like the editing end, like you need someone who can edit your work and read your work and like say, you know what, I don't know what you're saying here.
Like, what are you talking about? Exactly.
Yeah, it's very important.
Yeah, we need that sometimes because we get in our heads too much, and then it makes sense to us, but sometimes it's not making sense to somebody else.
As a writer, right? As a writer, we all know where we're coming from, right, Morgan? Like, you're writing the story, like, I get it. And somebody else will read your manual, like, dude, I have no idea what you're talking about. So for Christopher, because he also is on the spectrum, he has autism, high functioning autism, his ideas, look around, are so like sometimes up there. I'm like, nobody in their right mind is going to know what you're talking about. Let's reel it down.
You're going to bring him down to earth.
Yes.
I try to like help him with that. But yeah, he's pretty much, I think, a creative genius as far as the ideas that this man and the way he does things is not like how most people do their books. Like, so that was another thing I had to learn, right? So he uses a lot of visuals and he does everything all at once. You know, most people will do like a storyboard. They'll come up with an idea. So I'm working with my daughter, who is an illustrator, went to school, has her degree, and she's like, nobody does it like Chris, Mom. First, you do it like this. And so I'm like, Oh, okay. I thought everybody did it like Chris. So it was really
it's
crazy.
funny though. Like I think there's a lot of when you find out how comics are made, there's so many kind of ways to get to that end product, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of variety. The way people approach it, like so differently.
Before we get into that discussion, though, I want to know what Chris grew up with. I want to know what cartoon or comic put him on the path.
Well, you know, basically, the first memory I have is really funny because we were kind of poor. I couldn't get comic books, but we got the newspaper. And the Lawrence Eagle Tribune in Massachusetts at the time used to publish comic book size Sunday funnies, and it was folded and stapled, and it was just like a comic book.
Oh, really?
But it was all the strips.
Cool. That's cool.
The highlight, of course, was the reprints of the Stanley John Romita Sr. stuff. Like,
yes, the Spider-Man books. Yeah,
that was my favorite part of the whole thing, but I got into all of it. So, like, when I ran into you the first time and I was excited about Mighty Mascots, it's because when I was a kid, I really had a full spectrum of different comics. Like, I know some of us grew up just Marvel, just DC, but I had no choice. I was into all of those.
Yeah, you know, whatever was in the newspaper.
Yeah, it's what I got to read and got to copy and mimic. And basically, you know, I got away from it because of a silly rejection that I didn't know how to handle. Because, of course, back when I was young, they didn't have diagnosis for autism. It was just, they just didn't talk about that stuff. So I got in the wrong mind and left the whole field. Met Diana. She kind of patched me up as our marriage went along. And finally, I was like, I want to do this again. But to touch on what she said real quick, when she read the comic, I got to see, because she doesn't read like we do as a comic book reader, I got to see how a normal reader read, and it helped teach me how to place my lettering a little better. Okay. So with every week, she sits down and reads whatever I've put out. And like usually it's like 20, 30 pages that she has to work through. And to hear her read it is so, it's so strong. Like I've been telling creators now ever since she started doing it, do this. Sit down with your wife, sit down with your best friend, whoever, and just have them read it, you know. And she actually does all the voices. She gets into it. It's entertaining.
Oh, so she like reads it out loud to you, which is great. Yeah, that's
one
cool.
time I actually recorded it and I put her in
that,
a promo
Amy.
video. And she got so upset.
That's great. That's really good.
Awesome.
But that's great that you guys can support each other like that. It's you know what I mean? Like it's great that you have her to bounce things off of, you know. Same with Amy. Like Amy's like definitely like the hidden champion behind like Mighty Mascots. Like she fixes a lot of artwork that kind of comes in a little off.
Yeah,
like she'll throw it in her editor and fix it. And then also like she also does the same for me. I let her read like the scripts. She won't read it out to me like and do the voices, which would be awesome. But but she will go through it and tell me if stuff doesn't make sense or if she doesn't understand it. Morgan, do you have somebody in your life that does that for you?
I have a couple of people, but my spouse is not really into the comic book world, so
it stinks because that's the story I hear a lot, you know, from people. It's like
very, very common. And we actually tried writing a novel together, a children's novel years ago, and it almost broke our marriage. So we don't do that much anymore because we just did not agree on anything. I tend to go weird very quickly, and I want it very fast paced. And she's from a scientist sort of background, so she's much
more of a grounded kind of sensibility.
It doesn't make sense. Why would that? You know, why would they do that? You know, I don't care about that. They're aliens. They have reasons. So not so much. But I have a couple of friends that I rely on quite a bit, and I'll send them initial copies. But I've only recently started working with editors on the novel side, and then also with graphic novels and comics and stuff. Good. And it's
editors are night and day. Like you get a good one, and they can really push you to like a good place with your work. You know. and like give you ideas that you weren't thinking about, help you to like shorten storylines, things like that. You know, they're really good for that kind of stuff.
Make you
and for
shape
catching
up or not cook
spelling
dinner.
errors too, and punctuation and all that. What's up?
Yeah.
What'd you say, Chris?
I said make you shape up or not cook dinner.
Yeah.
My editor just,
Right?
How many times he's fired me? And I'm like, fine, who else is going to put up with your crap? No, keep on.
No, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, it is definitely interesting.
And so when did like Morgan, when did you make your first comic? Was it recently or was it?
No, it was the year that I discovered comics.
Okay, so you were going back like
impatient.
7 years or so.
Yeah, I just went out and found an artist and started on 2 comics straight away. Shadow's Daughter was actually one of them, the original, the one we'll talk about later, the original story I started.
So that started as your novel.
It was so the novel was already written, and then I was sort of trying to translate it into a comic series. And then I didn't realize as I started, this is going to be a really long series if I'm not careful, because, you know, a novel's, you know, quite a lot going on.
Yeah. Well, I think like a lot of people kind of come into comics like not knowing like how much work it really is. Like it seems like it's an easy thing to just jump into and do, but you couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, I think everybody in this chat and in this show can agree with that. But like,
I think
I remember.
Oh, sorry, honey. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Amy. No, go ahead.
Oh, what I was going to say, as far as like, if you're used to writing novels and then you're switching to comics, did you find it difficult to do more of like showing versus telling? Because, you know, like so much of the comic story is visual versus in like prose. Was that a challenge for you?
It definitely was. So the way that I tried to do it was I'm big into film and all of that sort of stuff. So I think about comics more as film and individual scenes and what a character's doing within the scenes rather than. So, I mean, I write a script, but the script changes maybe 50% from what I've got on the page to when I actually see the artwork and see the characters moving. And, you know, that's way too much text. I have to shrink that and that doesn't work with this. And so, yeah, I tend to change it a lot with that, but yeah, I had to lean on film a lot more than the novel. Frankly, I'm at my 13th novel, I think, at the moment. I'm still not convinced I know what they are and how they work. They're still strange to me. I don't understand them. Comics, I'm starting to get a bit more of a handle on how they work now. I'm a bit more comfortable with it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. How about you guys, Chris? And go ahead, Amy.
One more question. Do you ever do storyboards for your artist? Like, do you ever sketch any storyboards out or anything like that?
And they're horrendous, but I do for the manga artists, they because they're not really, you know, English speakers isn't their first language, so they prefer storyboards, whereas other artists that I've worked with around the world, from US, UK, you know, overseas, all that sort of place, they're fine with a script, but the manga artists they go off a storyboard, which is very different. So I don't even bother with a script, and I really don't bother a lot with dialogue. I just put the main, and you have to be very simple with instructions as well, because they don't get the nuances of the English language. So not as a writer, normally I'd be, let's make it as fancy as possible, this, you know, elaborate description. They won't understand. Like the classic thing was there was a frame or a panel with a guy that was interrogating another guy, and there's he's supposed to be wearing glasses. And I went back and forth a few times with the artist. The artist came back, there you go, he's wearing glasses now. And I thought, he's not wearing glasses. Am I missing? I'm looking around for anyone. Is anyone else wearing glasses? And then I realized there's a glass of water on the table. So he just wrong glass. He just, you know, you have to be very, very simple. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Like it's funny because my artist for Mighty Mascots is in Indonesia. Same thing. He doesn't. I when I first start working with an artist, that's the first thing I talk about is like, do they prefer to break down a script, or do they want thumbnails or storyboards for the script? And Ian just wanted me to send him thumbnails, like, so he wants to work off that.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's interesting, you know. And same thing, my thumbnails are pretty wretched too, but like I try to lay it out as best I can, and then he takes it over and makes it beautiful from there.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. What about you, Chris? Is that how you work too, or is it like?
You do
all
it
right,
all
so
at once.
I'll try to make this brief because Diana kind of like got it all messed up. But generally, I'll have an idea. Usually, I don't write it down, but many times I do.
Okay.
And what happens is I create thumbnails on 1117 digital sheets that become storyboards that become pages. Like nothing I draw gets wasted. So the initial rough stuff is the same rough stuff that I end up using in the book. Now, because it's digital, I can move stuff around, stretch it, all that stuff, which saves a ton of time, but it also allows me to, like, if I want to paint something, I can paint it and then find a use in the book. Okay. And everything just comes together in a way like, so Diana will get a typical story, let's say one of these 10-page stories in the anthology. The first 3 pages are beautiful. They're all done. They're inked. They're ready to go. The lettering's in there. And then slowly, as you get to the 10th page, it turns into like literally scribbles with balloons, because I know where they're talking and what's going on, but she has no clue. So about the 8th page, she's looking at me going, I don't understand this art. And it's because it's still in its infancy. With the anthology, it's been weird, though, because if I get bored with a story, I just flip to another one. Like if I'm sick of drawing trees, I can flip to another story where it's actually set in the city and start doing land.
And then go back later. And like
he does it like simultaneously. He's writing, he's drawing, he's coloring the pages.
Well, like with Tina and the Three Trolls, which is the cover story, I did write that out and I'm following it faithfully. But like with Mind Hack, I never wrote it out, but I did give great detail oral summary of it, and then it came out as a drawing / script at the same time.
Interesting.
So
because sometimes you script like Morgan was saying, sometimes your script changes, but mine just evolves while I'm drawing it. Like I'm like, right. I don't have to say he opened the door if I'm drawing him open the door.
Exactly.
So it's fluid like that.
Well, and imagine, what'd you say, Amy? I'm sorry.
I said it saves a little time. Like you're not writing it all out. You're just
exactly.
And imagine if you're the artist on the story, you're writing and drawing it. You kind of know where everything's going, so you could kind of do that.
Yeah.
I think and I hate to say this, but sometimes you can also use to shield yourself. So I've been challenging myself, like. If I know, for instance, there's a big stadium scene, maybe I don't want to draw 1 billion people, so I might be tempted just to write, and he went to a stadium and then went to the dressing room and never draw
Right.
So I challenge myself now, like I'm like, no, don't write that out. Actually draw that,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's so funny. I saw a comic strip once where it was like the joke was there was a writer and an artist at a convention on like one of the panels, where they talk to people. And the writer was just going, oh, I have this beautiful Coliseum. There's going to be a lot of city buildings in the background, cars, all tons of people, a huge crowd scene. And you see the artist in every panel is getting angrier and angrier. And then finally the joke was, I'll kill you at the end, where he's strangling the writer.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like, that always resonated with me, because like you don't think about the artist and when you're a writer sometimes, and how grandiose you can get something, so it's kind of funny that you brought that up. So, but I go ahead, Amy.
What that reminds me of too is that I don't remember the issue number, the issue of Swamp Thing, where they were like gearing up for a battle, and there was like, and then the next page was like, whew, that was quite a fight, and they were walking in the woods. Remember that one?
Yeah, that's great.
So when I had to take my short story that I wrote for the anthology, right? Because I'm a writer, and I only allotted 10 pages. That's kind of what we talked about, 10-page little comic quickie. I had to take this very long story and shrink it down. I'm not an artist. Okay. So I did. My daughter is the one that's illustrating. So I literally took it and I put Chris, what was the program? Comic Draw. He put me on Comic Draw. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It's a program.
No.
So I'm looking at my short story and I'm taking the dialogue. I color coded everything. So like grandmama is a certain color, and like my daughter got this 10-page dialogue sort of panel with no drawing in it, but I took like description. This is what I want to see in here, and it was all color coded. And I color coded everything. When she died, she's like, "Oh my God, Mom, this is so funny."
Seriously, Mom?
She understood it. She's like, "Okay, I got it." And I said, "Listen, as far as like the artwork itself, you have, free reign on that, because I don't really have a vision except it's trolls, it's a little girl, it's her mom and her friends. Like, I gave her physical descriptions of what I thought the character should look like, right, according to my story. And I broke it all down. And the other day I was going through what I sent her and I was starting to tweak the dialogue, because yourself in comic books, they're not supposed to be paragraphs. When you're reading a short story, it's okay. So I'm trying to, Chris goes, "Honey, don't do anything yet, because your artist is going to read through that and give you just what you guys are talking about." He goes, "Don't do the work yet. Let her get the first couple of pages done, then go back into the dialogue you have, and you'll be able to start shrinking it down a little bit." Because that was one of my things.
She's so excited. She wants to keep molding it before it comes out of the oven.
Yeah, I'm like rewriting it. Like, I don't like the way that sounds. And, it's got to be this, or I got to take this out. And he's like, "Don't."
I find like writers' techniques fascinating with comics, because I don't think any two writers do it the same way. Like with me, like I have a hard time visualizing the comic page when I'm writing. So like I tend to write a comic script like a screenplay, which Morgan, maybe that's what you do as well. Like whereas like I worry about mostly getting the dialogue down first, and I just kind of have the characters talk to me, and then I'll throw in descriptions like they do in a screenplay, like this is happening here, this and that. Then I go back. It's kind of a horrible way to do the writing, but then I go back and then I try to break down each page. And then there's like certain rules that you try to hit with comic books, where it's like the page turns with the reveals. Sometimes you want to make sure that, like, if you have a full page splash, you want to make sure the page before it ends in the logical place. Things like that. You don't have a scene change in the middle of a page, things like that. So it's so I end up kind of writing the screenplay like the script like 4 times before I have a final one. And I don't really recommend it for people, but that's what works for me, so. But
I don't know what works for me, because this is my very first
the color-coded thing sounds interesting. It's a way for you to keep it organized in your mind on what you want.
Exactly.
It's very homemaker-ish, and I mean that with all due respect and love. But it reminds me of her crafting room where everything is labeled and colored and all.
Right, like an organizing, like you're.
It's my sloppy copy. Don't make fun of me. Stop.
It's not even sloppy. That's what I mean. It's so organized. It's like, what?
That's what I do with my kids. It's called sloppy copy. You write it out first, right? You just vomit on the page.
Get it out.
And then you take it back and you tweak it. Like, what the heck was I thinking?
Right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know.
That's awesome.
Got to get that first draft out. Doesn't matter how you do it. You just got to get it out.
Yeah, exactly.
And I sometimes will spend like months thinking about the story before I even do anything. Like you almost like outlining it in my head, and then I'll outline it for real. And then I kind of write the screenplay knowing the guide, the guide map, where it's going, and then just have the characters talk to each other in my head, and then just transcribe it basically,
Yep.
That's how I do it. And then, and then, like, after 15 drafts, it's ready to go,
In a way, I think that's what we do, because she reads it every week. It's like having multiple edits on the beginning stuff. And by the time you get to the end, like we know the story so well, if she misreads it, I actually go, what does it say that? Or did you misread it? Because we know it, by heart. And it's like,
copy in me, okay?
Yeah, right.
Sometimes I do the they thing. You ever do that?
What's
so
that?
You're writing so much and you're not paying enough attention. So you'll say like, they went to the park, and then they went down here and they had pizza, and then they went over to the store. Like I'll double
like
word.
you say it's too many times.
And I get that drives me nutty. If I see
Yeah.
a word in the same speech or the same little section of the panel, I'm like, no, we got to change this word.
And the whole page, if she sees it in the same thing in the whole page, she's like, can't we find a better word?
You're using that word so much.
Well, I tend to like once I feel the script is in a good place, I will put it away for a month, and then I
That's
go back
really
and I
smart.
go back and look at it, and I see all that stuff where I doubled up, or you know, like when you say something a couple times in the same character says the same word a couple times, you know.
It's like you said this.
Yeah, and definitely, and so that I find that helps, even if it's not a month, as long as I put it away for a week or two.
Yeah.
So so I'm not looking at it and it's fresh when I look at it again. That helps a lot, I find.
It does.
You know? And also finding mistakes in your writing, like if you read stuff backwards, sometimes you see it more, like if you're missing like an and or you know, like something like that, you'll notice it, or if you misspell something. Usually sometimes like you'll spell a word and it just looks right, but then you see it months later and it's like, wow, I really misspelled that badly. But every time you read it, it was natural.
Well, because you know what you want to say.
Yeah,
you
exactly,
as the writer,
exactly,
you know what you want to say. So that's why having a set of eyes on your work is super important.
Big time.
Well, and the time away also cures that too. That's why it works when you take a week or a month away from it, because fresh eyes and you're going in it. And oh yeah, you're right.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's all the fun little things that people don't think of when you're writing a comic. You know,
that's half the fun.
It is. You know,
I think it is.
I think so. I mean, it's like you're crafting something, you know.
Exactly.
You know, and it's like you know what the end product's going to be in your head, you know. So, how many comics have you guys all made together? Like how many Heroshack comics are there now?
Oh well, there was 2 years of Heroshack, 4 issues a year, and then we did Cyclopeans got 3 out, and Last of the Reapers, 2 Cluster Fudges, and Trolls Exposed now, right?
You guys get like 20 something issues, huh?
Yeah, I've just been going nuts with it. And I
can't stop
people, like we took the first 2 years and put them into anthologies because, or that's not even the right word for it, but we put them in volumes,
like a graphic novel,
right?
Yeah.
Because of course, the earlier you go, the less quality there is. Not that I think any of our books are bad. But if you compare the ones from 2019 to the ones in 2022, I've been blessed just to be around a lot of great people who are willing to give tips and suggestions and help, and just hard work. Like I do, 6 to 8 hours a night drawing, and it's just, I tell everybody, if you want to draw, just put the time in. Eventually, you may not ever be what you think you want to be, but you'll be able to draw.
Yeah, and you guys are making books. You're getting out there to sell them, and then that's the thing, like everyone has sort of aspirations to work for the big two, but I think my aspirations have been going further away from that. The more I do it, I find that like just doing my own stuff is more fulfilling now.
So I want to ask a question of your guest.
Yeah, sure,
Morgan. Have you, so like I met Keith in conventions, I've seen him a lot, but so have you done conventions? Is that something you've experimented with yet?
I went to one and then was about to have a stand at another one just before the pandemic hit.
I forget, Morgan, are you in Australia? Is that where you?
I am, yes. Yeah, okay. Brisbane, Australia.
Do they have a lot of shows out there?
Not a lot, but they tend to be state by state. So, and we don't tend to travel beyond states because it's a big country in terms of land mass and all that sort of stuff. So, so there's a couple in Brisbane, and then a few smaller ones, but there's others all the way across the country, or there's a lot more down in the bigger cities down south. But yeah, so I was all ready. I was getting the banner printed and all this sort of stuff, and then the pandemic hit, and I thought, well, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I haven't been out to one since.
Bummer.
So I'm thinking next year will probably be the year that I'll ramp that up.
Because I know Australia was pretty tight with the restrictions.
Yeah.
Is that over now? Are you guys back to normal?
It's this weird situation where our numbers of people that have got COVID are higher than they've ever been before. Where a lot of us are vaccinated, so the vaccination rates are quite high, but the COVID numbers are off the chart. But everything's opened up, and it's pretty much let's just ignore it and just do.
Yeah, that's sort of how it is.
Really awkward stage. So most of us aren't comfortable. Sort of, I don't want to rub my face up against strangers or any of that sort of stuff at the best of times, but particularly not during COVID. It's a weird situation at the moment.
It sounds like that's the same way here. Like as soon as like the Ukraine stuff started happening, it was like COVID was instantly over, like everybody
off the news.
Right. Yeah. It's like it never happened.
No, it's not a thing anymore.
Exactly.
It's not a thing because it's been going on too long. We're bored with it. Politicians don't want it anymore. It's costing too much. So it must not be a thing anymore.
Exactly. That's exactly. Yeah. Meanwhile, the reality is much different,
Mm-hmm.
Well, I work in a public school system, and I can tell you that we're constantly dealing with a lot of absentees. But like they're all doing COVID testing and not getting it. What we're finding is it's all these colds and flus and stuff that people haven't been exposed to for 2 years. Like I went to a different school than I was normally used to, and I got sick for like a week. But it wasn't COVID, and it wasn't.
It seems like it hit you harder because we have been.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean.
Like body's immunity is decreased.
Well, and we've been locked away. So like when you do get a cold after 2 years, it's like, damn, it's like
and you go
with you a lot longer.
Fear, like, oh crap, is it COVID again? Because I've had COVID. I'm vaxxed. I'm like, okay, so like, oh, I can get it. But I've kind of just started swimming into the environment. I'm like, whatever. If I get it, I'll deal with it again. I know that's like a kind of a callous way to do it, but I've always been that way with all these illnesses. Like,
even in the lockdown, we've done a few conventions now. Like we were at one last week, and I was at one a couple weeks before that, and I'm seeing less and less masks now.
Yep.
And but I still, I keep my hand sanitizer close. I've always been kind of like, I shake a sweaty palm and I'm instantly in there with the hand sanitizer, But like,
I'm a sicko. I shake the hand and I go, yeah.
Oh, not. It's so full of it, you guys. Oh my God.
No, I totally get what you're saying, and like I wear masks if they require masks. And
And,
I mean, it's kind of nice
totally
that they've
ready
been,
to do that as well.
Masks have been normalized too, which is nice because there are people who are immune compromised and need to wear masks, and maybe you get really bad allergies. So now it's normalized where if you want to wear one, no one's going to look at you like, what's wrong with them? It's just a thing now. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Don't you guys want to see technology brought into this though?
We know there's going to be like, go ahead.
They need to make like quality masks. Like
big
I'm
helmets.
Surprised no one's put out like a good $80, from, I don't know, GE Electric or whatever. And it plunks down and gives you a nice airflow.
No, for real, Dyson. Dyson is making a mask, which is
go.
a sort of Dyson respirator. I saw it on the news. So yeah, they're coming.
Wow.
See?
Good, because I've been wondering, like I was
only 2 years too late. Right. But anyways, we don't want to talk about COVID.
That's way off the comic.
I know. You get me started. I'll just keep.
But no, I am curious about the convention scene down there. So, is that something that you would want to do, Morgan? Like more of, or?
Yeah, I mean, I have a natural aversion to crowds and that sort of stuff. I'm not big on that sort of thing at all. So the
some
pandemic has actually been great for me.
I think that's part of like fighting through suffering a little bit for your art, I guess. Is like
So I have a thought about that. Like we went to New York Comic-Con before, which is the biggest convention on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And we went as like attendees. Remember when we went with our press pass because we were doing stuff for like interviews and things? And I was miserable because walking around with everybody the whole time, I'm like, my sort of crowd anxiety was just up, and I'm like, I got to get away from these people. In subsequent years, we've been vendors.
Right.
Having that table in front of you makes such a difference. It makes it not that like the crowd doesn't get to me when I'm walking around, but when you have that like home base, you can get there and you have a job. So you're not just wandering around. You're like, here's my job. I'm selling my comics. I have my thing. And if people come to talk to you, they're talking about the comic. They're not just bugging you for a social reason, you know? So it's kind of nice.
And like, they have to go through the table. They have to talk.
So like Morgan, even if you don't like crowds, the convention experience as a vendor is completely different.
It's good. It's really fun. Yeah, it is really
well,
fun.
I think it's
I'm definitely keen.
It's
sort of essential to because I'm trying to do both. I'm trying to build my audience online, like Chris and Diana here with Heroshack, but also in person too. I think it's very important to make that personal connection with people at shows where they come and they find, they buy one of your issues, but then they come and seek you out the next show looking for the next issue. I've had a few people do that, and I don't know. I find it both, like I I guess the real game is trying not to lose money at shows, and try to you know how that is.
Were you in Connecticut at the Terrificon?
Did I do what?
Did you?
Yeah, we did Terrificon. Yep.
Yeah, I love Terrificon. Terrificon is a great show.
We're going
Did you hear our casino story?
No. Let's hear it.
First night I come out swinging, I win like $130. We go to the bar.
Big spenders we are.
So wait, you went to the casino the first night?
We stayed there. We stayed on site, right?
Okay. You won 130. Which game did you play?
Oh, just all the slots. We were just doing slots, right?
Oh wow, slots.
So I go to the bar, and somehow either I gave the waitress the ticket or I dropped it somewhere.
No, he gave it to her because she goes, Do you want change back? And because you can pay with your ticket, right? You're winning, and he had littler earnings. He's like, oh no, and she's like, oh, thank you, sir. So then we're finished. We had a drink. We finished, and we're heading back to the room, and he's looking in his pocket. He's like, oh my god, I can't find it. I'm like, what can't you find? So we backtrack, and we're looking all over. Oh my god, it was then we realized, you know what? That when the bartender said, "Do you want your change back?" And he's like, "No, that's fine. You're taking." That was like the $50 one or whatever. You're just trying to be generous. Like, oh, thank you, sir. And it dawned on us, and like, oh, but she had really.
No. The good news is, following that, the next night we both won big. I think we won back our money and the table's worth. It was really high.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we did.
It was funny because when we stopped playing, it was because I was sitting at a machine and I'm just plugging it away. You know how you just keep spinning?
He's super lucky too.
And I guess I was playing like $14 a spin or something. I had no idea.
We had no idea even how to play.
And I hit a win, and all of a sudden, all this money started ringing up, and the people next to me are like, I'm like, what? And they're like, you were like spending $14. I'm like, oh, well, I better stop because I don't know what I'm doing. So I took my money and went. They kept playing. I think they won more money on that machine too. Good for them. But I was happy. I was like,
they're all digital now, and now that you don't have to actually put in coins,
exactly, right? We had no idea. We had some old timer come up and tell us how to play. We're like, where do you put the quarters in?
That's how they get you, though, What was I going to say, Morgan? So this is a convention that is in a casino.
Yeah.
Which is
up
in Connecticut. So
it's a lot of fun.
It's actually a great convention because the show promoter keeps it mostly comics, but he does have a few celebrities. But it's mostly like a lot of high-end comic creators, which is great, So it brings in a lot of comic.
It brings in a lot of people, right?
Yeah. So and then you get bored, you're at a casino, So it's kind of awesome in that way.
Well, if you're like me, I wake up like at 2 and I'll stay up till like 4. And like if we're in a small show, you wake up in a motel, it's like, well, I can walk around the parking lot. But you wake up in a casino, I can go get something to eat. I can go get a drink. I could go play the games. It's like everything's still open.
Yeah, it's all right there.
Yeah.
So the next morning I would get up. He's like, I gotta introduce you to my new friends. It's all like the housekeeping people, because he's been wandering around for 3 hours. Like, you have no idea what I deal with. It's like, look, and he's walking. This is the Dunkin' Donuts. Her name is whatever. I'm like, hi, nice to meet you.
Do you know who Pat Broderick is, the artist from DC?
Yeah, I know Pat.
I met him because I was outside smoking a cigarette, and this old guy walks up, and we're sitting there smoking, and I know it's a terrible habit, but this is what we were doing at, like, I don't know, 1:30 in the morning. Next night I'm out there, I'm doing the same thing. He's out there, and all of a sudden we start talking a little bit more about comics. And it turns out he's Pat Broderick. And I'm like, Pat Broderick, really? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, I'm from Heroshack.
That's great.
And I met him too. He proudly walked me over, took my hand. Honey, come here. I've got to meet you. So we met him and his wife. They're very nice people.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm familiar with his work. I remember he's at a lot of local shows in the New England area. He was at Rhode Island a couple of years ago, I remember. And I remember Joe St. Pierre was introducing me to him, and I was like, oh, yeah, Pat Broderick from Firestorm, right? Isn't that what
yes,
Firestorm?
That's what I remembered him from, too. But he had a whole resume. Of course, like, we only remember Firestorm. He's like, well, I played it.
Oh, yeah, he was worked on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he like had this
crazy
whole
that they don't hire guys like that to do stuff anymore. It's like the guy's an incredible artist,
Well, he's a professor in some art college now too. Is he
really?
Those,
so he's actually wants to make money.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's full time. I think it's one of those like honorary professors who shows up a few times a year. And
that's great.
Class or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he probably makes money at conventions,
He was
sure he gets comped the table, gets a few commissions,
He's a grandpa now. He's so funny.
He was one of those guys they put in a booth that they, like they pay for on the end caps, and you walk up and you pay for the signature, and hey. He was one of their like invited, published guests. So I think they even paid for his room. He was like that, big with them. Yeah. They wanted him. He was next to Jerry Ordway.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know Jerry pretty well. Jerry's awesome.
I don't know him at all. I was like starstruck.
Oh, yeah. He came to our show a couple of years ago. He was like my first major guest we ever had at our convention. And we're also promoters too, Morgan. We besides being a creator, I also run a show up here in Massachusetts. And Jerry Ordway was one of our first major guests. And such a nice, humble dude, And now when I see him at shows, he comes over and we catch up a little bit. He's just a nice guy. We swap comics. He loves the Mighty Mascots, which is even humbling, to me. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, he's great, man. He's awesome. I haven't quite worked up the nerve to ask him for a cover or anything yet, but maybe one of these days I might.
One of these days. So. There you go.
Well, and
but anyways,
like Keith and Amy always have one of the best tables. Like, except for at Holy Moly, we all look kind of bad.
Oh, you talking about us? Oh,
yes, you guys. But you guys always have a great table. I love your tables.
Well, Chris, and that wasn't an overnight thing. Like I've been setting up at shows since like 2005. So, and I had to learn this stuff every year. It's just like it goes back to when we were talking about marketing earlier. It's just stuff you learn about. Just going to shows and seeing other creators.
Exactly.
Their tables, what they're. I'm still learning. Like I find different ways to set up like books or product merch that you sell, things like that. Actually, on my channel here on YouTube, I do videos about how to market a little bit at conventions and things like that. So anybody out there that's, thinking about, setting up at a convention, check out, there's a playlist on the channel with all the different ones I've done.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I even set up a table out in the yard and just kind of show you what I'm thinking. And
that's a great idea, Keith.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, 'cause it's stuff that like is secondhand to
learned,
me,
right? Yeah,
but like other people could use that information, you know.
Of course, of course.
Like I'm actually thinking about, because I'm gearing up to do another Indiegogo campaign. I'm thinking of doing videos on how to make one of those from scratch, you know.
That's really good.
Because I bet some people could use that info as well, you know. So
I'll be
like, excuse me.
Yeah, speaking of which, we've been yapping for an hour. I want to look at some of the books that you guys get going. So let's look at Morgan's book first, and I want to see. Let's look at this campaign. So Morgan, tell us a little bit about Shadow's Daughter. This is one of the ones that started off as a novel.
Yeah, it started off as a novel and then got turned into a series. And then with this campaign, I ended up doing a bunch of spin-off comics in black and white to sort of fill out the story and add a little bit more to the story. So it's essentially, it's a world kind of parallel to our own, same sort of time frame, but around about 30 years prior to the story taking place. A red moon rose and it sort of hung in the sky for about a month. And while that was hanging in the sky, the Earth, experienced a bunch of cataclysmic kind of things. So earthquakes, flood, fire, all that sort of stuff. And a certain portion of the population, maybe 2% of the population started to turn and exhibit preternatural traits. So, sort of vampires, werewolves, those sorts of things. And these things called mancers that are, it's kind of like sorcery, and there's different types of mancers depending on what's happening. Where the initial idea, by the way, came from was that I said 10 years ago, I'm never going to write a book about vampires or werewolves because they've been done. It was right about the time that a certain franchise was very popular and there were big movies. And I thought, I hate it. I don't want anything to do with it. And then about a year later, I thought I should really challenge myself and write something that I don't like. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to write something about vampires and werewolves and that sort of stuff.
Did you kind of get into it a little bit, like after you started?
I did, because they're different enough that it's not there are no shiny vampires. I'll put that out there first, straight away. There's no shiny skin,
no sparkling.
There's no sparkling skin. There's none of that. It's different enough from most of the stories you've seen that there's not, you won't see that. But the thing I like most about it was the main character. So her name is Summer. She's a shadowmancer, so her gift is that she can bend shadow and use it as a physical weapon or a force.
Oh, cool.
Which is a very rare gift. So she's one of only 2 people that are known in popular culture at this time that have that gift. But the first one they know, there are really bad connotations because he was a serial killer sort of 20 years earlier. So already there's a lot of fear when people kind of see her and, all that sort of stuff. The thing I like about her most is the thing that drives her is paying the rent and getting a new bike. So her concerns are very mundane. I don't care about, broader politics or any of this sort of stuff. I just need to earn money. And the way that she does that is she's a bounty hunter that brings in these rogue kind of remade people. So vampires that are doing bad stuff or whatever, she brings them in. Cool. Picks up a reward, and then off she goes.
That's very cool. I like that concept. Like you don't see a lot of characters that are more like that are in it for themselves. That like it's not they're not selfless. You know what I mean? Like that's cool.
Well, she's got a few people she cares about, and then anyone outside of that group, she's not really fussed. It's not
Whatever,
so.
Art's really good on this.
She's not working towards some like big, huge, higher purpose. It's kind of like a little more grounded for her, it sounds.
Yeah,
I like
she's just getting
by. Where you do the black and white with just one color. Was that something intentional?
I'm fairly pragmatic with this stuff, obviously, because I'm not an artist. So I'll use whatever, similar to what Chris was saying. I'll use everything that I get. So every scrap of art that comes through, I'll use it somehow. And I had an artist that just did the sketches and then the drawings of Summer on her own. And I thought that would look really great with just one color highlighted and the rest in black and white.
That's so cool. I like that.
Yeah.
And this is some of the serial pages.
Yeah, there's two color. So the main issues are two color issues that you're looking at now, and then there are 4 spin-offs that are in black and white with the manga style, and there are actually another 3 issues. So there's 6 issues in this campaign, but there's another 3 issues which I'm offering digitally. Oh wow! Because they're not quite ready to print yet, but yeah, a lot of fun. And there's
this is cool. I like it. I like the premise here. And so in all the villains she fights are like people that she's bringing to justice for a paycheck, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, initially, so the main story is she gets caught. She kind of works for a version of the FBI that's deals with preternatural issues. So she kind of works for them, but not under them, if that makes sense. They hire her to do stuff. Gotcha. She goes out on a job, but while she's out there, she gets cornered by her handler. And he basically says, look, you have to take this job. It's a higher priority. You don't have a choice. We'll pay you twice your normal rate. You have to do it. And in the source of this job, she has to track down someone with only a few scraps of information. As she tracks down this person, she starts to realize she's not who she thought she was. She's not how do I say it? I won't say too much, but she finds out that there's more. The way to look at it is the title of the whole series, which is Shadow's Daughter. So the first question you would ask is, who is Shadow? Because it's the apostrophe in so she finds out more about her heritage and what's going on, and very quickly gets sort of embroiled in this very big story. And the essence of the story is what happens with this incredibly overpowered individual that has essentially the most powerful gift in the world, but uses it to make money. But what happens to her when all of that is stripped away, and what's left, and how does she cope and survive in this kind of this world? Yeah.
That's awesome. Harry said, gee, she can probably straighten out some shadows too. Is the video long, or is it a short
No,
video?
it's a super short one. Yeah,
okay,
it's like
let me let's play it. That's
awesome,
it.
Short.
Yeah, that's good. That's what you got to be like with these Indiegogo and Kickstarter campaigns. People don't have any attention span,
No.
Yeah.
I love the look of the monsters.
Yeah,
the look of the monsters and things in your book are really cool. They're neat.
They are very much so.
Yeah, this looks great. So what if someone was interested in backing it? What level would you? Do you have like a featured perk that you suggest to people, or
the most so first thing to say is they're printed in the US and Australia, so you won't get stung with postage.
That's nice.
That's in the US.
That's
a big one because it's horrendous otherwise. So there's that one. The two that most people go for are either the digital premium or the print premium, which is basically all 6 issues.
And this is
digital and premium. There's Australian dollars written there, but obviously for you guys it's what 20% less or 30% less because of the exchange rate. So you guys get a bargain over there. Yeah, and if you get the print premium,
so 41 for all 6. That's not bad.
Yeah,
that's what I was looking for. It's like
that's really good, really.
Yeah, for 6
and it's
issues.
Also it includes a behind the scenes, a PDF behind the scenes with all the original artwork and a bunch of stuff in there, and a digital music album. For the series.
Yeah,
that's so
cool. Great.
I see all the instruments behind you, Morgan. So you're a musician as well.
Yes, I do a lot of music and music production, and that actually is what pays for the artwork for the comics. Initially,
oh, really?
So I can get moving. Yeah.
That's awesome, Morgan.
Yeah, so you're on the album is you and your band.
It's kind of hip hop / chill out music. It's the kind of music I imagine Summer, the character, would listen to.
Cool.
So it's produced by me, but it's not there's not a lot of rock in there, if that makes sense. It's more chilled sort of stuff because I imagine for some reason that's what she's into. And because no one knows, I invented her, so no one knows, so they can't say that it's not the case. So it is what it is. You know? Do
you do like because I know some people will do like an album that is more like a reading experience. So like they'll like make music so that it's set up. You should, hit play when you're about to start the issue, Do you do stuff like that? Or like where it's like ambiance almost like?
Yeah, a few years ago, I wrote a book of short stories called Rust Chronicles, which was about a sort of mythical dream city. And half of the stories up the front were about people in the real world that were kind of interacting with this city. It was kind of a semi-horror steampunk kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then the second half of the book was people that were in the dream city sort of struggling with things that are going on. And so there were about 15 odd short stories. So I wrote a separate piece of music for each short story. So the idea is each one is paired. So you listen to this while you're reading that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it didn't do well though, because it was a while ago. I think it was a little bit before people were thinking that way. So nothing really came out of it. But I've got the book available now and the album. You just kind of have to stick them together. But yeah, I love the idea.
Yeah, no, I think it works too. I've never actually sat down and read a comic and then like played somebody's soundtrack along with it. It'd be interesting to try it and see if it does anything for the reading experience. To me though, I think I would be distracted by it. I don't know, especially if there's lyrics or something. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. So
I don't know
same as writing.
Yeah,
right. But yeah, no. All right, so let's take a look at Trolls Exposed as well. So let me add that here. Ooh, racy, Chris, racy, a little racy.
Definitely sure.
What's that? Yeah, no. So tell me a little bit about this project.
Diana, talk for it.
Okay, so this is an anthology of stories about trolls. Basically, you have your internet trolls, you have your forest trolls. You have, all variety of trolls that you can think of. Okay. And Chris primarily did most of the stories. Myself, I have a story. Rick Piper from Cross Comics has entered a story as well.
Oh, cool.
So he
was in the chat earlier too,
authors.
I think, right?
But I'm laughing because I haven't seen this particular video for some reason. Is this new?
I don't recommend watching it. It's about 40 minutes long.
Is it really?
What? So one of the things you guys have to understand is I'll come home from work. Okay, I work 6:30 to 7 up until 6, and he'll do things to our that I haven't seen yet. We'll be in a chat or something, and I'm like, oh, this is new. He doesn't run it by me. He tells me I'm the business person, but half the time he does all this stuff on his own, so I'm not really sure what this is.
So let me give the 15-second elevator pitch.
Yeah.
So Trolls Exposed is an anthology that runs from the Great Flood up to the modern day computer troll, and everything in between.
Oh, okay. So it's almost like Trolls in History kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I like that. So any of the stories could be about a specific troll from a specific era. That's a cool idea.
Yes.
So
how long is the anthology?
Right now it's about 100 pages. And I'm really hoping to keep it about 100 pages, but there's a lot of time between now.
It's going over.
There's time between now and press, so I'm liable to add more.
I have to ask, do you have those 1970s and 80s trolls with the hair? You remember those little cute trolls?
Yes. The ones that we don't have those. Unfortunately, we don't have those because.
Well, I've avoided those because of the copyright, but we might hide a few of them in some of the stories in the backgrounds. Or
they're probably copyrighted. Yeah, it was
copyrighted.
Well, actually, they track right back to Sweden, and I believe the Matterhorn. I think they're located in that area.
Yeah.
If you change them a little bit, 50% changes, you can probably get away with putting them in there as a parody, or
they might just end up in there.
Yeah, why not? Right?
It's funny that Amy asked that because a lot of people like the troll dolls, those little cute. No, or the movies. No, these are not cute, cuddly trolls. My story basically is about a little girl, and the DNA, there's a whole DNA factor in the story, and she mutates into a troll at some point in the story, and it's not pretty. It's something I've never written before. Chris's story, he has the whole internet troll. He has the whole, like, go ahead, Chris. I know what you're going to say.
Well, I'm just listening, but so like basically I have like 6 stories that I touch on different eras of the trolls. Well, because there are only 10-page limits on each story, it's very easy for me to do these, right?
So how many stories total are in there? Is there like
well, with Rick and Diana right now, there's 8 plus. There is a narration that goes through it similar to Crypt Keeper.
Okay.
The guy's name is Victor Violence. He's a troll specialist, and he has a
like
plot
that.
going in between the stories that concludes at the end of the book. So there is one story that continues from the beginning of the book at the end of the book. However, everything is sewn up and over by the end of the book.
Harry's asked, do the trolls ever encounter the Karens?
Don't give him ideas. I told him he can't write any more stories. He'll keep writing the book.
Chris, put that one in the memory bank. That'd be kind of funny. Trolls against Karens.
The Trolls Exposed Hall of Fame, there are some Karens in there because we have a short little section of historical trolling that we kind of notate from history. Like, I think my favorite one so far is
like
the
a
Beatles.
fake like history books of like kind of thing. Is
Well,
that
no, there are actual things like, do you remember when Paul McCartney died and the Beatles let it be believed there was an actor portraying him, and they were putting clues in their album covers, and they were trolling.
Kind of remember that.
Isn't it?
Well, that's like the kind of
records backwards. Paul is dead. And
Yes.
So that's in there as the Hall of Famer. One of the Hall of Famers.
Yes, that's one of the Hall of Fame entries. So like there's entries like that. Milli Vanilli. They're in obviously for
War of the Worlds audio.
Oh right? That one needs to be in there. I forgot
you should
about
put that one in there. That's a huge one.
Yeah, book's getting longer.
Yeah,
I told you.
I'm sorry, Diana. Just give me more ideas.
I told him. I said,
be a 200-page anthology by the time this show's over.
He has to finish coloring and drawing and doing everything. So this is, and we did a 60-day campaign, which is not something we've done before, but we needed the time.
No, it's good.
We've also commissioned a really wonderful artist.
Well, I found out too on Indiegogo, you can do a 30-day and then kind of change. You can actually go in like the day, like when it's down to the last day, and change it to add another 30. So you could do something like that too.
Yeah, you could do that. But we opted just to put it out there for 60 because it's the first time that we have hired artists to do our cover. So Chris Madd, I don't know if you guys know Chris Madd. He's a phenomenal artist.
I've heard the name.
Cover. Yes, he's been.
He just won an award on. I keep forgetting the name.
Independent something or other. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, ICC. Richard. He just won an award for cover artist for last
really?
year.
But
yeah, he's super cool, super great.
Yeah.
So is the video really long, or else I would play it?
I want to say it's like 1 minute and 40 seconds, but it might be 2 minutes.
That's not too bad. Is it just the comic? Is there anything like crazy in it?
The beginning contains a simulated SWAT, and then is
it just pages from the book, basically?
Yeah. The beginning's like it's a video thing, like it's animated.
Oh, okay. Oh,
I don't know if you want to see it.
We'll try it.
It shouldn't be rated R or anything, but it might shock you.
Yeah, let's put it up. Let's try it.
It's different.
How crazy it is. 2 minutes, not bad.
We'll smell your blunder. We are the sickness that corrupts your soul. FBI, open up! All it's supposed to feel.
least you put good music to it. I like it.
That's a rich story.
Diana's story.
My daughter did the control on that. Well, these are little cupcake stories. Controls all of it.
It's this close to being done. There you go.
Good, man. Looks good.
Looks intense.
Your art's getting stronger from when I saw the Heroshack stuff. Like
it's totally different now.
Yeah,
totally different.
Definitely. That's cool. Yeah. So let me hold on. Let me bring up the campaign again. I usually do that, but let me see. Hang on. There we go. All right. Cool. What do you recommend too for people to check out? Is there a specific perk that you've been pushing people towards? Or
well, the PDF, I'll be honest, is always a favorite for the creator because it costs nothing for us and it's all
anybody can get it.
Yeah.
You know, worldwide.
Yeah, you don't have to print it. It's it's just sent digitally.
Yeah.
But I always like to recommend the book itself, which would be the second tier there, Ingrid's Choice.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the book.
Yep.
So that's a full 100-page or
100 plus.
Actually, question mark how much pages
it's
going to be,
it's gonna
right?
be 100 plus by the time we get all. We have a couple pinups. Jay Lipson has got a pinup going in there.
Gotcha.
So we have a couple other pinups coming. So
are you guys doing stretch goals with this campaign? If you
but it's kind of funny. So the first stretch goal is actually our funding goal, but because it's a flexible campaign.
Okay.
That means like even if we don't sell another book, everybody's going to get their book.
Right.
Okay.
So the first stretch goal is set at 500. That's going to contain an exclusive print just for the stretch goal. The second one, I believe, is 1,000.
Yeah.
And then we're.
That's the cover.
I think after that we're not.
Oh, this is the Chris Mad cover.
This is the Chris Mad.
The pencils.
That's just the pencil.
Wow, that looks nice.
That's awesome.
We'll be unveiling the full cover soon. He's almost done, and I actually want to use that to kind of like double launch the book, like because I know when he's done, it's going to be awesome. He's a fantastic artist.
Well, you're already halfway. I mean, you're over half. You're 65%, so you're almost there. You know.
Yeah, we're a lot closer
46 days to go.
Yeah.
You know, that's great.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And then I didn't look at yours, Morgan. How close were you to hitting the goal?
He's met his goal. Right?
Oh, you met the goal.
On Kickstarter, right? And then I noticed. I wanted to ask Morgan if we were to back the book, should we go Kickstarter or Indiegogo? Because you have them on both, right?
Yeah. Well, the Kickstarter's finished, so it would have to be Indiegogo, but it's essentially the same rewards.
Okay.
So you use both, huh, Morgan? Which one do you like better? Like I find I've used both. I think Indiegogo is a better platform, but it doesn't have the name recognition Kickstarter has.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the only thing that it's lacking. But
well, I did some data analysis because we all know how sexy that is. On the last campaign, because I'm interested. So I'll doing the marketing and everything has been a really hard thing. Most creators find that hard. So I'm now I will tart myself out to anyone, anywhere to try and get the stuff out there, you know? So I'll use both. I haven't got a problem with that. What I found though, from the data, close to 50% of the backers from the Kickstarter campaign were just organic traffic from people searching from within Kickstarter. Okay. Whereas Indiegogo campaigns that I've run, that's down at around 10%. So for me, it could just be my campaigns, but there was a huge difference in I can reach.
That is huge, right?
You know, And particularly, I'm in Australia, so I've got Australian backers, but what I want are worldwide backers, and particularly US backers.
Right.
because
You
of the
want
market.
people everywhere reading the book.
Yeah,
definitely.
so I found it's been a lot harder for me on Indiegogo to pick up those organic people.
That is truly interesting. I wonder why. I wonder what the difference
Yeah,
is.
like I find for me the best thing about Indiegogo is the fact that people have to purchase the perk right then and there, because like when Kickstarter collects the money 30 days after your campaign's over, you get that 10% of people that kind of ghost the campaign and you lose that money. So I find that I lose less money on Indiegogo. I also like the in-demand option a lot. I really do, because it does function as almost like a web store for you. I heard Kickstarter's doing something like that, but I don't see it a lot from people if it's an option. I don't know.
Realize that.
Like an in-demand thing on Kickstarter?
Yeah, Kickstarter was supposed to do something like that, like an in-demand, but if they're doing it, I don't see people using it. Like
I don't think well, certainly on my campaign that just finished, it wasn't an option. So
it wasn't
maybe
an
they're
option.
still working on it.
Yeah, and I like that aspect of Indiegogo, but you have to hit the goal in order to get the in-demand.
Right.
And I think the in-demand will stay open as long as you keep getting bids, because
which is like a 6-month period or something like that.
Something like that, but like when I did my Mascots campaign, I'd say over 20% of the funds came in after it ended. After it ended.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so I like the in-demand. I also like the add-ons, but I think Kickstarter has that now too, the add-on feature.
Yeah,
I like that a lot too, because I think that's very, very helpful with campaigns, because especially if you have other books that you want to sell or other merchandise, and people can kind of mix and match what they want, So I don't know. I guess I always tell people, if you built an audience on Kickstarter, you may want to just stay there, because you have your audience and you can build on top of each campaign. But I think the same goes for Indiegogo. If you've built an audience there, you can build on that audience.
We've done different audiences too.
We've done both, but we're not really large enough to claim a following yet. So it's like we've funded on both, but like we haven't like starstruck on either. So it's like we'll wait and see what happens.
But we
just keep building. You got to keep building it. It's like,
and it takes time.
It does. I mean, there's no such thing. I find no such thing as an overnight success.
Right.
It's a lot of like, and in comics, I mean, the readership is dying every day. There's,
literally, yes,
it really is. I mean,
literally.
Well, I mean, comics. Honestly, it's like the biggest problem with comics is visibility now.
Yeah,
and comics have become kind of like records, where it's like a boutique item now, and the big mainstream guys are like, the kids that they're reaching, like they don't even understand what comics really is. That's the thing, like kids, kids today,
they look at the movies.
You hand them a comic and it's like archaic to them, because
do I have to read this?
They got they got their phone, like they got this. Why would they need a comic? So we're fighting all of that stuff.
I know.
That's why comics, I think, are more of a boutique item, but
like manga does seem to be the one sort of genre, like subgenre that is still kind of growing.
But there you go. That all kind of goes back to visibility, because manga has a better visibility, but especially in Barnes and Noble and all those places now where kids are going.
So that'll be good for you, Morgan.
Manga has something in common with what American comics used to have. It used to be like you get a comic, it was basically throwaway material. A manga is typically like a black and white trade paperback that they're carrying around.
But you get so much for your money too.
You get a lot.
For $10, and then now you go over to you go get an issue of Batman. You pay $5, and it's like this in 30 pages if you're lucky. And the manga is like 300 pages for $10.
It reminds me of something our nephew once said. He was reading a comic and he's like, I want more story. Like every 2 pages is an ad.
Yes.
And manga doesn't have all those
ads.
They don't
have that.
Right. So you're getting, like you said, Keith, tons of story. Like your book is this thick and it's mostly all story. And that's what people want, you know?
Yeah.
So
and that's why it's manga's doing really well over here, you know?
Yeah. So if we could take some lessons from those types of publications.
Yeah, Harry said, Harry said, all you need is a solar flare to take out a bunch of satellites, then kids will discover comics.
Well,
right?
It's really funny too, and the way we promote too. So like in my meager attempts to market Heroshack and our comics, I reached out to our local library. And Chris and I went down. We brought the Great Cyclopean series because that is a kid-friendly book. We left the copies there. We brought the coloring book. We said, hey, listen, this is what we're doing. They came back and they loved the books. They're actually, Chris and I will be hosting a very small version of like a Comic-Con at the library in the fall.
Nice.
We'll get, some creators.
Let me know. I'll come down. What library is it?
In Apple.
Yeah.
That's like right up the street. Yeah.
So
as long as it doesn't conflict with any other of my show appearances.
Right. Well,
I'm doing
as soon as I get the date, I'm going to reach out to yourself, a couple of other creators that we know that are local.
Yeah.
And that's what we told them. I said, we have some friends and some people that we know that, have comic books, and they were really interested. But we're hoping that, Chris works in our district. The kids in town, they actually have a comic book or a reading club for young adults there. So, I mean, that's just an idea. Morgan, I don't know in your area if you have, like maybe your local library or something like that, although your book might not be, that book might not be suitable, but maybe for like the adult section, like we have both.
Yeah, but
like,
even then though,
I'm
dying to see this group because young adult doesn't necessarily mean teenager and younger. Young adult may very well mean 18 and up, in which case you can present a more mature material, especially if they're engaging. These kids in these clubs are all creating their own books.
Right.
And
a lot of the libraries now too know that, and they bring in a lot of graphic novels now
exactly.
too. Yep. But that is like a smart move to well, that's how you build your readership too.
That's what we're hoping.
I want to find new talent.
Well, that's that too. You find kids that are interested in it.
Yeah,
like find if you can get a kid to read a book, a comic, they usually like it 9 out of 10 times.
They do. You're right.
And they'll seek out more. It's just exposing kids. Like when we were growing up, comics were everywhere. You could go to like 7-Eleven, they were on racks, gas stations sometimes, even like just anywhere. Even I remember my first comic was at Walden Books on their spinner rack there,
Yeah. Well, even
but they don't have that anymore. And that's why it's so hard to build readership. It's
right. Like
the comic industry is backwards in that way.
Mm-hmm.
You can't build it if they can't find it. That's the problem.
Or even know about it.
I know that's a whole other discussion, but that's what I find the problem with comics is right now. They have a visibility factor.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's true. Well, and like there's never that moment where like, the kid is reading it and mom is like, put that book back. Like when that doesn't happen. Like kids can't just pick it up.
It's usually put your phone down. Get your phone out of your face,
Or like, no, you can't have any candy. Well, where all that candy is where you used to. And I think actually the Market Basket near us might still have Archie's near the checkout.
The digest ones,
Yeah, they have Archie Digest. So, I mean, that's something,
Yeah, Archie's been around forever.
Yeah.
So, awesome. All right. So let's start to wrap up here because we've been going for an hour and a half.
Oh my God.
I was wondering if you noticed how long you were going. I'm like,
I try to keep an eye on it, but if the conversation's going well, I kind of let it go.
Once we start talking about like trends and what we think could be different and what's wrong, like
I know, right?
Well, like I feel if we're engaged and we're like really into it, the audience would be too, So
yeah, and maybe they'll definitely go out there and get some books for their kids.
We try to go like an hour, but like we've gone an hour and a half, which is fine,
Cool. This is like a Grammy special edition without the slap.
Yeah, right. I wanted to highlight this cross. It said 20 pages of story in DC and Marvel Comics. Yeah, that's
And the book is what? The book's like $5 now for one of those.
Crazy.
And I don't know what this person's saying. They're
pages.
saying Ola a Todo Sake Tai.
Hi, isn't that hi everybody?
Oh, okay. Hi.
Hello.
Is that a bot? That might be a bot.
That might be a box.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because he's yeah.
And then Harry says, I always paged through Mad Magazine every Saturday morning at a Market Basket when I was growing up. Yeah. They don't have that anymore. I think Market Basket used to have comics too.
Yeah.
You know, like a small section with their magazine stuff.
Yeah.
Which they don't even have that anymore, you know?
Keith has to get down there and talk to Mr. Economo.
Yeah, right. My old boss, Eric Barley said, congrats, Morgan, on Shadow Daughter getting a publisher. You got a publisher, huh, Morgan?
Yeah. So the versions that are being put through the campaign now in the Kickstarter campaign, they're my own. So they're from Super Serious Comics, which is my brand. But yeah, the whole series is going to Marcosia once the campaign's finished. So they'll be available.
Awesome.
Yeah,
worldwide.
they're like a small publisher, like Aftershock or something like that, right? They used to. Yeah, and they do a lot of graphic novels and that sort of stuff. I knew a couple of people that had books with them. I had thought I had seen much for them. Are they mostly just graphic novels now?
They do tend to go towards graphic novels, but obviously, so mine aren't. This isn't a graphic novel yet, but each issue is 40 pages or over. So they're quite long, and that they'll be put together at a certain stage.
That's good. I find people like it that like with indie comics, they like to get a graphic novel because they know that they can get the complete story. And I mean, you guys know too, just being indie creators, that sometimes you get people come up to you and be like, well, and they're thinking in their head, are they ever going to finish this series? You get a lot of that, So when they see a graphic novel, that kind of gives them confidence that they can, get the whole story in one shot, So yeah, let's wrap up. Definitely want to go around the room, have you guys, plug your campaigns one last time, and how about we start with you, Morgan? Where can people find you? What let everybody know.
Cool. So easiest place is just to go to morganquaid.com and you'll find novels, collections of short stories, comics, obviously, information about the Shadow's Daughter campaign, other comic issues that I've got going out, and new novels and all sorts of stuff. So that's probably the easiest place, or just find me and pester me on social media, on the Facebook or Twitter or wherever else. Always happy to chat with people, and just get to know people. But
awesome,
happy to chat.
How did you hear about our show? Did you just run by it randomly on YouTube, or?
Yeah, I was looking for places and found Indie Comics Relay and thought, awesome. These guys seem great. I will send them a message, and part of the whole, you got to promote yourself.
That's great. I'm always curious, like, especially if I never met you previously, I'm always curious how they found us, that's awesome. That's awesome that you found it on a search. So check out Shadow's Daughter on Indiegogo. It's 24 days left, and it's already hit its goal, but you can still back it and get, I think, a lot of comics for your money here.
Yeah.
Especially if you do digital. And then Morgan said that they're printed in both the US and Australia, so it's not going to kill you on shipping. So that's huge.
That's really huge. That's awesome.
Yeah, so check that out.
That's smart thinking.
It is smart thinking.
Yeah.
Especially if you like vampires, right? And horror / superhero kind of things. Would that be
paranormal, weird fiction, action, all that sort of stuff.
I'm definitely gonna check it out.
Yeah, and with a cool a female lead, So definitely, I like the premise there a lot. All right, how about Heroshack? Where can we find Heroshack? And
Christopher, you gonna answer?
All right. So Trolls Exposed is on Indiegogo. We do have a website at heroshack.com.
Yeah.
back the book, that would be great. Check out the website. We have a lot of free stuff on there, particularly the old comics, if you just want to have a little look at how we progressed over the years. And that's about it. That's the quickest elevator pitch I have.
Nice. So what's the best place for people to find you guys? Is it YouTube, or you guys do a show on YouTube, right?
Yeah, we do a show on YouTube. Yep. That would be a great place to find us. Facebook as well. Okay. Yeah.
But if you go to the website,
in the New England area.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But if you go
now
to
that they're starting back up full time.
Christopher, if you go to the website, it's easier because you can contact us right through there too.
The website is Heroshack.com, right?
Heroshack, very easy. Heroshack.com. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah. And real quick, are you guys at Wicked this weekend? Wicked Comic-Con?
We are
No,
not.
I wrote it down. That's one of the things that I have to find more one-day shows and drag my husband with me because
one days are the best.
Yes, I know. We're doing the Kids Con in Concord.
Oh, okay. I'll see you guys at
we're going to do that one, and I have a scheduling glitch with Springfield. May not be able to do that one.
There's a library show that I just got in Winchendon called Beals.
Yes,
Comic-Con?
Yes, the Beals. Yes.
I think they're going to do some vendors, so you guys might want to reach out to them.
I will. We missed it the last time around.
Yeah, they just hit me up to let me be there. Their tables, they're just asking for a small donation. So I mean,
that's not
you probably can make a few bucks, and then I usually do something like 20% of what we make or something like that, you know.
Well, that makes sense. I will reach out to them because that's one of the things that we want to do more of.
Yeah, the library shows are great too. Anybody out there creator
in Australia? Are those in Australia too, Morgan? Like library Comic-Cons?
Not really, not that I've heard of. No, I mean there might be some in some of the cities, but
they're really great. Like if you ever think about like starting anything up, like library shows are fantastic. It brings so many kids in and adults too.
We've never done a library show actually. That's really good to hear.
They're nice. We've met some really cool people too because they tend to be smaller. It's a little more intimate. It's not loud, you know. People can talk to you. They're really fun.
Yeah, and they're not like they don't kill you either because it's like you go in for the one day and you've gone usually about 6 hours, you know, and then you're ready to go home after that.
Right.
And it's like
I like those shows.
Yeah, me too. Those are my favorite. Awesome. All right, let me share each of you guys' links here real quick in the chat before we wrap this up. This is Morgan's campaign, so check that out. And then this is Heroshack's campaign. Check this out. And Amy, anything you want to promote before we wrap this up?
Well, I would say, whoops, knocking over stuff in my background. The Alterna Winter campaign is happening, but the Alterna Spring campaign has also launched, and I don't think we have Mascots in that, but be sure to check that out. That they have so much stuff on there.
Yeah, I don't have Mascots in it, but I'm actually one of the sketch card artists for commission. So if
you could get a commission from Keith.
I don't do art much, but I do have a very cartoony style, you know. So.
Cool.
So
he doesn't do it much, but when he does do it, he knocks it out of the park. And I usually color for him, so it's a little bit of a team effort.
I have. Here's my I did some. Let me make myself big. I did a couple sketch cards of Mighty Mascots recently.
Right.
So that's my style. If you want something from me, so it's very cartoony, but
I love it.
Oh, thanks. But that's something you can get on that campaign, which is cool.
Okay.
Yep, that's on the spring campaign. And then anybody in the area, come check us out at WickedCon. Oh, Chris.
Yeah.
Keith.
Yes.
Is that 2XL behind you?
What's that?
Is that a 2XL
it is
behind you?
It
my gosh, I love that thing.
Yeah, let me bring it up.
Yeah, pull it down.
There he is. That's the original 8-track one too, as well.
Yeah,
right?
It works too, Chris.
That was so sweet.
He's such a goofball.
So, funny story before we go. I went to a buddy's a buddy's house that was cleaning out, getting rid of stuff, and he had that, and
No way.
and he was like, he goes, it doesn't work anymore. I was just gonna throw it out, but if you want it, you can take it. I was like, yeah, I'll take that. I remember that thing. So I got it. I brought it home, and then I went online and I was looking to see if I could find somebody that could fix it. And there's a guy that fixes like just 2XLs. So I mailed it to him. He fixed it. He sent it back to me, and now it plays the tapes. Which is funny. I have the superhero one. It's really funny, and the questions are super super easy.
Yeah.
But the voice is hilarious too on it. It's like, and
that was my first 8-track.
How did you
Was
even
it really?
do that?
Yeah, my
Oh my
first
God,
8-track
that's
player.
so funny.
Yeah, I know. This whole background is filled with just kind of cool stuff that
Yeah, I love
it's
it.
like me,
This is
as
me.
a wall, so
It's me
It
as a
is awesome.
wall. That's hysterical. I love
so
it.
it's something back there that I just love of, everything. So I keep adding to it too, as it goes along. So
Yeah, I think you got that little Pac-Man, the light up Pac-Man for Christmas.
yeah, I should do a video
Oh, that's
for
so
the
funny.
channel just going over everything that's back there,
It's
and
not a
just
bad
what it
idea because
means.
you have some cool stuff
Yeah,
up there.
people
Yeah.
like that sort of stuff. So, but all right, well, everybody, we're gonna wrap this up. Definitely
Yep.
check out those 2 campaigns. We shared the link in the chat, so
Thank
check
you,
those
thank
out.
you.
Spend your hard money on great creators, people that are putting in the passion, doing great comics that are outside of the mainstream. So definitely check those out. Any last words before we wrap up this episode of Indie Comics Relay? Anybody?
Thank
Any
you for
last words?
having us.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
no,
much.
thank you for
having us
coming.
on.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's been
thanks
a
a
lot of
lot.
fun.
We had a great discussion, right? So
Mhm.
Yeah.
awesome.
Definitely.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching. As always, like, subscribe, channel, share it with people you think that might get something out of it. We're definitely trying to get to our 1,000 subs, and so thank you so much, and have a great week. And we will talk to you soon. See you. Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
Cheers.